Jurassic Park, the film that essentially began the dinosaur genre and is among the best movies ever made. Even though the franchise has gone downhill with every new sequel release, the original Jurassic Park is absolutely glorious. But what made Jurassic Park better than its sequels? And why is it such a great movie? Well, let's get right into it and enjoy Jurassic Park before we have to delve into the disastrous sequels in future videos. What makes Jurassic Park such a great film is that it doesn't have any major flaws. While Jurassic Park is not perfect, there is no scene that truly breaks the film. The biggest issue would be the ending, when the T-Rex somehow manages to sneak up on the characters and the velociraptors. Even though I love this movie, I admit that that's a flaw, and it should not have been like that. The idea of the T-Rex saving the humans by attacking the velociraptors is not the problem. The execution of that idea is the problem here. If the characters and the velociraptors had heard and seen the T-Rex coming at them beforehand, that would have essentially fixed the scene. Other than that, there is an issue where the T-Rex paddock somehow becomes a lot deeper, even though it should not have been as deep as shown in the film. It was simply created to enable the car tree sequence, and to of course add attention, but it doesn't make sense whatsoever. Because even though the T-Rex is massive, it's not that huge that Alan and Lex wouldn't be able to just jump down to the paddock, especially since we see the T-Rex casually step over the ledge. In addition, the T-Rex wouldn't be able to push the car off the ledge in the way the scene shows, unless it somehow lifted the car onto it, in which case Tim would have been crushed, or he could have escaped the car. Then there are of course other issues, like Ellie jumping over the same log twice, and Tim not giving Alan the shotgun in this scene. But other than that, there are no other notable continuity errors or logical inconsistencies within the movie, at least as far as I can tell. On top of the film having very few inconsistencies, the film's direction and writing is really strong. One of Steven Spielberg's greatest strengths as a filmmaker is his understanding of anticipation. Many modern movies rush to show the audience everything as quickly as possible, while Jurassic Park does the exact opposite. The film spends nearly an hour building toward the full dinosaur experience. Before we see a living dinosaur, we hear stories about them. We see fossils. We watch experts discuss them. We hear descriptions of their power and intelligence. The film constantly teases the audience with the promise of something incredible. Then comes the Brachiosaurus scene. Even after 3 decades, this still remains one of the greatest introductions in film history. What's remarkable is how simple the scene actually is. Alan sees something off screen, but the camera stays on his reaction first. We watch him struggle to process what he's seeing before the audience is allowed to see it. Ellie continues to talk about something else, but Alan turns her head so that she too can witness what's happening. And then we see Ellie's reaction. Only then does the movie reveal the Brachiosaurus. The moment works because the film understands that wonder is contagious. We're not simply looking at a dinosaur, we're experiencing the dinosaur through the characters. John Williams' score elevates the scene even further. The music doesn't tell us to be afraid, it tells us to be amazed. It captures the feeling of seeing something impossible become real. And honestly, the Jurassic theme music is absolutely legendary. I won't play it because I'm scared of copyright, but I'm sure everyone is well acquainted with it. That's one of the film's many strengths. Jurassic Park never forgets that dinosaurs are supposed to be magical. Many of the sequels focus primarily on dinosaurs as CGI action monsters, and lose a lot of the sheer wonder of dinosaurs. Jurassic Park understands that they are both magical and terrifying. The characters don't just run from dinosaurs, they stop and admire them. This balance between wonder and fear is one of the film's greatest achievements. Another major strength of Jurassic Park is its characters. What's interesting is that none of them are particularly complicated. They aren't filled with endless backstory or dramatic emotional trauma. Instead, they're all clearly defined and serve specific purposes within the story. Alan Grant begins the film as someone who is uncomfortable around children and incompatible with computers. Early scenes establish this pretty much immediately. He finds kids annoying and clearly has no interest in becoming a parent. But then during the T-Rex escape, Gennaro abandons the kids. Suddenly, Grant is forced into the role of protector for Lex and Tim. Throughout the movie, he gradually develops a bond with them. By the end, he's become someone willing to risk everything to keep them safe. It's a simple character arc, but an effective one. But John Hammond is where the movie becomes truly great. What makes Hammond work is that he isn't portrayed as a traditional villain. Lesser movies would have made him greedy, cruel, or intentionally malicious. Instead, Hammond genuinely believes he's creating something wonderful. He wants to inspire people. He wants to bring joy to families. He wants to change the world. His downfall comes from arrogance rather than evil. He believes he can control nature through technology and money. He thinks enough planning can eliminate all the risk. But then the movie repeatedly proves him wrong. Then there's Ian Malcolm. Malcolm serves as the film's thematic voice. He constantly challenges Hammond's assumptions and questions whether humanity should possess this kind of power. His dialogue reinforces the movie's central theme, the illusion of control, and it fits perfectly with the kind of character that Ian Malcolm is. Throughout the film, people believe they have complete control over nature. The scientists control genetics, the engineers control security, the programmers control the systems, the investors control the funding. Yet everything falls apart, because nature refuses to cooperate with human expectations. This idea is summarized perfectly by Malcolm's iconic line, "Life finds a way." That single sentence captures the entire message of the movie. And speaking of memorable lines, Jurassic Park contains some of the most iconic dialogue ever written. Almost every major character has lines that audiences still quote decades later. The lines are not memorable simply because they're catchy. They are memorable because they emerge naturally from the characters and situations. Which brings me to the dialogue. The dialogue in Jurassic Park is extremely well written and is elevated by a talented cast who all deserve enormous credit for making Jurassic Park as great as it turned out. Sam Neill brings intelligence to Alan Grant. Laura Dern gives Ellie Sattler confidence and charisma. Jeff Goldblum turns Ian Malcolm into one of cinema's most memorable characters. And Richard Attenborough brings genuine humanity to John Hammond. Every performance feels believable. The actors treat the dinosaurs as real creatures, which helps the audience do the same. While I would say that a movie with poor writing is usually automatically bad, even if it has great themes, with Jurassic Park, the themes elevate the story. But that's because I don't believe the themes were forced. They kind of just came out naturally. Because the characters bring up points we would expect them to, based on what we know. Of course, no discussion of Jurassic Park would be complete without mentioning the visual effects. Even today, the dinosaurs look remarkably convincing. This is especially impressive when you remember that the film was released in 1993. The reason the effects have aged so well is because Spielberg and his team used technology intelligently. Rather than relying entirely on computer-generated imagery, the film combined CGI with practical effects and animatronics. Whenever possible, the actors interact with physical dinosaurs on set. This creates a sense of weight and presence that many modern effects-heavy films struggle to achieve. And this is especially the case with the Triceratops scene. If you compare that scene with the Titanosaurus from Jurassic World Rebirth, you will see a clear difference in how the actors can interact with the dinosaurs. The Triceratops doesn't feel like a digital model. It feels like a real animal. And the same thing applies to the T-Rex. The T-Rex breakout scene is perhaps the best example of everything that Jurassic Park does well. The scene begins long before the attack itself. First, the power goes out. Then the characters notice the missing goat. Then the water in the cup begins to ripple. The audience knows something is coming. The tension builds slowly and deliberately. By the time the T-Rex finally appears, the suspense is almost unbearable. What's brilliant is that Spielberg understands that anticipation is often more effective than action. The audience spends several minutes waiting for the attack, imagining what might happen. When the attack finally arrives, it feels earned. The same principle applies to the Velociraptor sequences. The opening scene establishes them as intelligent predators, and later scenes reinforce this reputation. By the time the Velociraptors begin hunting the protagonists, the audience already understands exactly how dangerous they are. The film constantly sets things up before paying them off. Nothing feels random. Nothing feels unearned. That's also something Jurassic Park does really well. It has constant setup and payoff. While of course historically the T-Rex's vision wasn't as bad as though it wouldn't be able to see Alan and Lex here, the movie establishes early on a limitation to the T-Rex, that its vision is based on movement, so that the characters have a chance to escape. Constant setup and payoff. And that's along one of the many reasons why Jurassic Park remains such a great film. It's not just the dinosaurs, it's not just the effects, it's not just the music, it's not just the cast. It's the way every element works together toward the same goal. The characters support the themes. The visual effects support the sense of wonder. The suspense supports the action. Everything feels purposeful. That's why audiences continue to return to Jurassic Park more than 3 decades after its release. It's one of those rare films where nearly every aspect of filmmaking is operating at an exceptionally high level. Even though the issues I mentioned in the beginning do weaken the movie, Jurassic Park is still a great film, and I would even say that it's one of the few 10 out of 10 movies out there. That's because at the end of the day, no movie is truly perfect, so we can't set our standards to be perfect either. In a different universe, where we had like 110 out of 10 movies come out each year, Jurassic Park would feel a lot less special, and maybe would only be a 9 out of 10 out of movie. But because I think 10 out of 10 movies are increasingly rare in the modern cinematic scene, Jurassic Park remains as one of the best movies ever made, even after 33 years.